I make life so hard on myself? I could have just stuck with book 1. And now I'm on book 3. But I hope you are enjoying my OG sweater. If you have been with me from the beginning, you know this is the one I wore for my very first Valentine's Day book review, which would have been Kate Morton's The Forgotten Garden. And if you haven't seen it, go check it out because I love that book. I will always love that book. But here is Elfquest book 3. I will stop at book 4 because good night. Doing 4 reviews in 4 days means that much more editing. Well, what can I say? I'm an obsessive personality. This is where we pick back up with the excitement. We left off yesterday seeing Cutter rejoin his band of merry men to rescue the rest of his band of merry men because they are held captive in Blue Mountain. And this is where we officially meet a new sect of elves. If you saw my first review, I showed you pictures about the difference between Cutter and his wolf riders as well as Lita and the Sunfolk in comparison to the actual High Ones whom they descended from. And so you will see physical characteristics are more in line with the who are they? We'll just call them the bird folk because I'm too tired to actually go through and read. In this one, book 2 was very much a bridge. It was very mellow. In this one, it was almost a little too overwhelming. So at some points, I was just like, information overload. But we do discover that this group of elves does consider themselves to be the High Ones. Now Cutter is like, okay, we found the High Ones. Like, what can we learn from these people? But we know something's fishy. Cutter and his gang, they know something's fishy. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Cutter and the group that he has managed to glom together, they want to rescue the rest of their people. They have left Cutter's kids behind with one of the adults, and their goal is just to break their friends out and get out of Dodge. What they discover is that the elves are being held captive because Strongbow, he killed the bird. The other elves were given the choice. You can either go free and we will keep him, or you guys can all stay as slaves while we torture him. The main bad guy in this novel is Winnowill. Winnowill, she's a piece of work, and I quite enjoyed getting some of her backstory. I believe there's going to be more of her backstory later on, but if it's not in book 4, I don't know if we'll ever get to it. That's up to you guys. I will leave that up to the polling system, all right? Leave it down in the comments. We have Lord Vole, who is actually, he's like their chief. And then we have Winnowill, who is like the master and commander. There's something going on. First off, they cannot reproduce. And so Lord Vole, upon hearing that these two have children, is like, if you show me your kids, I will let your friend go. We find that, like, even though the wolf riders are trying to fight back and free themselves, she's wicked. She's very powerful, particularly in the sending department. She can bring someone to their knees. Even somebody as strong as Strongbow, or like mentally tough as Strongbow, who chooses never to speak. He only uses sending, so he's got a pretty good grasp on things, but she can bring him to his knees. But Lord Vole, when these guys show up, he's like, you bring me those kids, we're good to go. They do so, and he is fascinated. Winnowill, on the other hand, not so impressed. I guess the rest of this band of elves isn't really too impressed either, because they don't like these guys. They don't like kind of their barbarianism, which I forgot to mention her before, in that if these guys are more similar to how the High Ones should look, and in this novel, what we do learn is So Cutter, Skywise, and the Wolf Riders, they are as they are, and they have an affinity to wolves because back in the day, when the High Ones descended, they were very weak and their magic was very weak. However, there was one High One called Tamain. She still had enough magic. She could shapeshift and she could be what she needed to be and do what she needed to do in order to help everybody survive. And one day she realizes, hey, the wolves are able to be self-sufficient. So I'm going to take wolf form. This then, I guess, leads to her getting stuck. The longer that she does this, the longer it takes for her to return to her original form until one day she just never comes back at all. She then mates with a wolf. They have Timorn. So it's Tamain and Timorn. And I'll get you a little visual if you want it. It's pretty crude, but it really goes well with the story that they're telling, and that Lord Vol is like, here's how we came to be. So what about you? How did you come to be? And then Lita, who she had healed Redlance in the first novel, she had gotten a glimpse into their genesis. And for some reason, she was like, I don't want him telling him how they came to be. This is Tamain turning into a wolf, helping them out. And then she's like, actually, no, I'm going to be a wolf. But here is my half-elf, half-wolf cub. This is then Timorn, because eventually she's like, I gotta recognize the fact that he also has elf blood in him, so she gives him over. This is him leading people along. Here's Cutter. He is the blood of 10 chiefs. Yes, my question. If having the wolf blood is what essentially miniaturized the Wolf Riders, what caused Lita's people to become more diminutive? If they're supposed to be tall and lithe like this, what turned her into this? She's just like him. And maybe that will then be explained in a further novel. I don't really know. But Cutter, after Lord Vol and Winnowill declare that they are the High Ones, he's like, man, maybe we need to stay. The rest of his group is kind of torn. So they have this meeting, and one guy, Strongbow, is like, I'm getting out of here. I don't care what you had to say. So he stands up to Cutter and he basically calls him a terrible leader and that his dad would never have done this. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, who is right? Because have they strayed so much away from who they were and the way? Or is this just the natural progression of things where eventually something happens and you have to change and adapt? It was a very good question. I enjoyed the challenge that they presented me in this novel. Meanwhile, we have this girl named Dewshine. Here she is right here. That's not a good picture. Let's get you a prettier picture, okay? So Dewshine, I talked about recognition and life mates in the first novel. Dewshine is life mates with this dude named Scouter. They haven't officially recognized, but they've always been a couple as far as this series has been around. We see when Cutter has come and he's trying to free his people that she does not join the cavalry. And we don't know why, and nobody will tell us why. But as per these pictures, so here we go. This is a better one of her. She's much prettier here, even though she's not in full color. Eventually what's revealed is that she recognized with this bat boy here. His name is Tildak. He wanted to fly so bad that he had Winnowill shape him wings and essentially corrupt who he was so that he could be something else. So all the other wolf riders are repelled by him. Apparently, according to recognition, she sees who he once was, whereas he kind of sees her as like a bird elf creature, which I'm like, oh gosh, how'd that be attractive? But like they see each other's souls. They are both fighting it. She does not want to recognize with this bird creature. And he, for his part, doesn't want to recognize with her. And it is taking an incredible toll on her physical and mental health. They're fighting the inevitable. It's like can't eat, can't sleep, home run kind of stuff. If you know where that's from, you're People After My Own Heart. That's her subplot. She's a wolf rider. She wants to be a wolf rider. She wants to be a scouter. However, as per the way that their races work, it's not working. Meanwhile, Cutter and Strongbow have had it out. Strongbow, who can be brought to his knees by Winnowill via sending, has the mental will and strength. So this is something I thought was super interesting. It's almost like some of their people have chosen to give up their own free will in order to become mechanisms of a sort, conduits for something else. So they have Door. This rock face will not open until Door uses its rock shaping abilities to reveal the entrance, and only Winnowill can control Door. And this was interesting to me because then there's also Egg. It's this dude who just sits there and they're like in a trance-like state. They're almost like stone, like statues at this point. They have no will of their own except when beckoned to do what Winnowill asks them to do. But he's sitting there and it's like there's an egg inside an egg inside an egg, and I guess each of these eggs, there are markings and carvings that tell the story of the ages. And there's a dude who basically, there's a weak spot in the wall. His name is Brace. Because of him, this weak spot can stay strong. Did these people volunteer for this? Did they really understand this was going to be the rest of their lives? So he has the ability to force Door to open. He and his mate leave and they're like, we're donezo here. I feel I need to apologize because I had this huge lead up regarding Cutter and his wolf in the last book, and I totally forgot to mention that the wolf essentially was like, I'm done. I'm too old. I can't do this anymore. So he peaced out. And it just broke me. When Cutter's wolf left, Skywise's wolf went with him. Take care of him until his day has come. In this book, Skywise's wolf comes back. We all know what that means. He doesn't need to take care of Cutter's wolf anymore. And it's just so sad. Because I'm like, how is Cutter gonna get a new wolf? I don't know. Anyways, they peace out. Cutter and the others are like, we're gonna stay here so we can learn our origin story. We want to know where we came from, but we also want to know who these people are because we don't really believe that they're the high ones, but like they know something. Like they're elves of some sort, but both bands are still rejecting each other. It's kind of complicated, which is why this one is just really overwhelming and you might want to take it slow. Winnowill is still bad. She is afraid because Lord Vol, like Sava, he's old, he's ancient. Unlike Sava, he's direct descendant. So whoever these high ones were, after they landed, they had him. So he's like the oldest living elf around. But he can't remember anything. It's almost like he's ossifying himself, just like Door and Brace and Egg. He's losing himself. Winnowill wants to keep it that way. Remember that butterfly creature that can spin a web around living creatures and cocoon them? Well, the particular one, Petalwing, has come with the elves to Blue Mountain, and Winnowill is like, this will be the end of us. So she captures it, and she's talking to Tildak about how they need to get rid of this creature. Of course, Dewshine, who's like hanging around his quarters, hears this. Winnowill's like, oh, you let this little creature like roam free, and I don't know. The thing with Dewshine and Tildak, I had a really hard time with. It gave me the ick. But she is able to break Petalwing out of the little prison. Bowl is still like fascinated with Ember and Suntop. Meanwhile, Winnowill is trying to like whisper into people, and particularly with Lita, because they're both healers. It's just whereas Lita helps people, Winnowill hurts people. She's trying to turn her on the Wolf Riders and be like, oh, you should be ashamed just like them, like you don't belong here. She's essentially just trying to get these Wolf Riders out because whatever they're gonna do is gonna undo whatever she's built up. Then she hatches this master plan. She says, hey, Tildak, hey, another dude, I need your help. It seems like all the other, because there's the chosen 8, the 8 people who can ride these massive birds and go out and, forage for food and whatnot. It seems that she has enlisted all of them to help her. So they're all like sitting around the table and they're listening to stories and they're doing whatever they're doing. Cutter has just had an encounter with Winnowill because she was trying to whisper things into Lita's ear. And Cutter's like, look, because he comes out of nowhere. He's like, look, I know where I'm from. I know who I am, and that doesn't matter. I'm not ashamed of that. He comes to blows with Winnowill, who thinks she can bring him to his knees the way she did with Strongbow. He might not choose to send the way that Strongbow does, but he has mental toughness, and he is the blood of 10 chiefs. And he's about to kill her when Lita's like, please don't. That's not what you're about. You do not want to kill another elf. He's like, yes, I absolutely do. And she's like, no, you don't. So they've just had their encounter, which is when Winnowill is like, okay, plan B. She uses her abilities to knock Lord Vol out. All these other chosen 8 that are around the table start attacking the wolf riders while she steals Suntop. Cutter goes after her only to be unable to follow her, which is involving Two Edge, which if you saw my last review, then you would be familiar with him. But he turns on his wolf riders and he's like, I trusted you to take care of my kids. So he's boiling. And of course they're like, oh, well, this is a reason, this is a reason. He's like, I don't care. I just had my own blows with her and I succeeded. There's how many of you and you could not protect my kid? While they are trying to figure out how to go after her, she is just on her way because she has this hidden chamber like way down deep. Here's some spoilers here. They are able to revive Lord Vol. Petalwing shows up and he's like, oh my gosh. And so this whole time I'm like, what's the big deal with these spinners? Is they wrap you in the stuff that they call wrap stuff. It just puts you to sleep and you don't age or, need food or drink or anything. So I'm like, what does what they do have to do with Lord Vol? Like, are they gonna wrap him in their wrap stuff and it's going to heal him in his memory of whatever's going on? No. Turns out, and this is a little further on, these creatures, these preservers, are what can lead the elves to the palace that the High Ones descended in. Lord Vol, being a generation 1, he knows where it is. He remembers all of this stuff as long as Winnowill is not around to make him forget. And so what we learn is that she is the mother of Two Edge. I guess maybe that means she's a generation 1 as well. She and Lord Vol created this society together. They created Blue Mountain in a place for all these people to live, and their intention was to be untouched, was to be as pure as they were the moment that they stepped in there. But then this inability to move forward kind of kept them stuck where they were, which is why they cannot have kids. She and Lord Vol, in some form or fashion, had been lovers, confidant, they've been best friends, and then one day she disappears. And when she comes back, she's changed. I guess this is when she met a troll and she had a kid. And somehow it's blackened her heart and, changed her soul, and now she's evil. So then the Petalwing comes in, he's like, revelation, I remember everything. Oh my gosh, we have done more harm than good. Cutter and his clan, they go after Winnowill. She has all these human slaves, Nana, her tribe, like they will sacrifice their people, and so Winnowill just keeps these people. She's bringing Suntop through the caverns and through the tunnels. She's like, you're such an idiot, and he's trying to talk to her about Sava, and she's like, oh yeah, Sava. Basically, I captured Sava. That's why she can't return to her body. He desperately tries to reach out to Sava via Winnowill, mind to mind. And Winnowill's able to capture him too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? Cutter and his gang catch up to her. So she gets wounded. And because she's wounded, she kind of loses hold on all of her control, which allows Suntop and Sava to kind of come together. And she's like, oh, you've got to help, you've got to help. Suntop is able to escape, but Sava is not. So I'm like, oh dear, Sava's gonna die. Lita, she's like, I can help. Sava says, this woman needs to be healed. I can heal her, rather than being healed and I guess face the retribution of what she's done when a will essentially falls to her death. This is when Sava is released. I do find there are some holes in there that I don't quite understand, but maybe we'll get to that later. But when a will does not actually fall to her death, she like crawls to her chamber and gets in her bed. Oh, Two Edge, I need your help. And I don't know. It's a great mystery, but there's a lot that happens here, and I'm glad that Two Edge is left for another book. I don't even know which book we'll get into, and I hope it's the next one. They go back to Lord Vol. He's like, guys, this is why the spinners are so important, because they can lead us back to the palace. We need to go. For some reason, the Wolf Riders are like, not yet. It's almost winter. The Lord Vol is like, fine, whatever. If you just want to stay here and then we go, that's great. However, like, let's just take one more ride. And this is the point where I was like, what is going on here? Lord Vol tricks Cutter and his kids to go on a flight on his massive bird when he's really just kidnapping them. And then when everybody else realizes that these guys are in trouble, they follow suit. And just like with the Sunfolk and the Wolf Riders when they first met, there's just a lot of clashing and a lot of placing of blame. The two groups are coming to head, and Lord Vol is like, stop, take this in, and he shows them a mental image of the palace, which to each and every one is exactly what they need. Now they're all one big happy family, only for Vol to be shot down. And it turns out there's the trolls, the trolls that have been missing this entire novel. They're shooting people down, and I guess Lord Vol dies. Not entirely clear, but the bird folk are like, this is all your fault. And I'm like, talk about fair weather friends. They cannot make up their mind whether or not they like the Wolf Riders. I think they're just a wimpy group of people. We're not supposed to like them. So they leave, and even Tildak, who Dewshine finally consented to join with, and Skywise's love interest. I just don't get it. They're all talking about how the Wolf Riders have opened their eyes to new things, only to abandon them the first chance that they get. Now, the Wolf Riders are fighting to the death against trolls who greatly outnumber them, have better weapons than them, all these things, and they're losing. People are getting hurt left and right. Cutter gets speared. They're able to overtake his opponent, but he's dying. So Lita's like, I need to heal you because like my people are dying. He does lose one. So One Eye is killed. And this just, I mean, I love these little pairings. His mate has this long silver hair, and she's just like, he's gone, because he, you know, when she sends, he doesn't send back. She like cuts off her braid, she lays it over him. It's just so beautiful and metaphoric. I absolutely adore it. They're going down only for this person on an elk or a deer to come to their rescue. It's like this whole group, and it turns out to be a new group of elves, of whom we were sort of aware because of things that the trolls had said in the last book. It's a little misleading in the first novel. When I show you that first picture, the comparison between the High Ones and then Cutter and their evolution, it makes it seem like they escaped into the woods and that's where they stayed. But now that we're finding all these other elf groups, it seems like that's not really what happened. And so when we learn about Timorn and Timain, it seems that they were all up in the cold place, and then some of them came back down to where Cutter and the Wolf Riders made their home. We are kind of given this idea that a lot of the elves ended up in this cold place, and I guess technically that's where they landed. I don't know. I don't actually know where this palace is. So it's a little unclear, but yes, now we have found a fourth group of elves, and we are moving on into the next book to learn even more. There you go. I'm exhausted. I feel like I'm rambling at this point. Thank you for bearing with me, and I will see you for book 4.